Hi, everyone. I hope you were able to join us for our recent NCARB Live, where we talked about all things online proctoring. We received a lot of questions during that, and we weren't able to answer all of them. So in this video, we're going to be answering a whole bunch of questions we got about setting up your online proctored secure testing area. So here we go. Can you go over the requirements for testing at home? Wow, this is a big one. A lot of the requirements are, I should say all of the requirements are covered in the materials that are currently published on our website in the ARE 5.0 guidelines. Importantly, that document also has a link to the ProProctor user guide, which is published by Prometric, and that has other important setup requirements that Prometric includes for their online proctored testing. As a brief summary, what those requirements include is a secure testing area, meaning a room with a door that you can close that no one else will be entering during the time that you are testing. Those requirements include the clean desk area, so nothing on your desk other than your computer and your mouse. And one last key requirement that you'll want to be aware of is the technology requirement in terms of having an external webcam, having a monitor that's an appropriate size to see the resolution of the test, making sure that you have a solid Wi-Fi or internet connection in your house. So there are a number of requirements that I encourage everyone to really read the requirements in the 5.0 guidelines very carefully, and certainly reach out to NCARB if you have questions about specific requirements.
Okay, next question. Can you use a standing desk during the exam? You can certainly use a standing desk during the exam as long as your testing area meets all the requirements that Michelle described and that are also available online. So you would still need to be able to provide a full view of your testing area in addition to meeting all the technical requirements needed to test.
Okay, our next question. Can I use a touchscreen computer at home to take the ARE? Unfortunately, the answer to that is no. Touchscreen monitors or tablets are not supported by the online proctored delivery. You will need to use a traditional type of computer with a mouse. If you have a hybrid type computer that can operate in either mode, you'll need to make sure that that touchscreen or tablet mode is turned off.
Can the room I test in have windows? Do I need to cover those windows? The room you test in can have windows, but yes, they do need to be covered.
Okay, can you clarify how candidates can set up their laptop by plugging it into an external monitor? What if candidates can't close their laptop after plugging it into an external monitor because the laptop will turn off? Okay, so great question, and this does get back to what are the setup requirements for testing. So candidates are not allowed to use a docking station. So that's one thing candidates might be used to in their work environment, that your laptop goes into a docking station, the monitor, all the peripherals go into the docking station. So the docking station is not allowed based on ProProctor requirements. So candidates will simply need to use a cable, an HDMI type cable is most likely what candidates will be using to attach that monitor directly into the laptop. I believe most monitors do have that ability to close the screen and then just send that video signal to the monitor. So if that's something that isn't working for you, you should be able to just go into your laptop settings and just make sure that closing the lid doesn't obviously put the laptop to sleep or turn it off.
What does it mean to have a webcam that can provide a 360-degree view of your space? Why is this a requirement? Well, the point in providing a 360 view of your space is so that the check-in person during the ProProctor exam can view your entire testing area. And it's a requirement for security purposes. In order for the check-in person to be able to see the entire room, they need to be able to ensure that you do have a secure workspace.
Okay, our next question, why can't candidates use tablets? And simply as was mentioned before, the ProProctor software, which is the platform that is actually delivering the online proctored exam, just simply does not support the use of tablets. So candidates do need to use a desktop or laptop computer.
What can I have in the room while doing online proctoring? Well, you need only what's required to take the exam. So no extraneous peripheral materials, nothing else on your desk, nothing behind you, nothing in the work area that could possibly make the testing environment an unsecured environment.
Will candidates be allowed to have multiple screens during the exam? Example, an extra monitor connected to a laptop. So unfortunately, no, candidates will not be allowed to have multiple screens during the exam. You are only allowed to have one screen. And so that external monitor, as we mentioned, will be connected to your laptop with say an HDMI cable. Your laptop lid will need to be closed. So you only have one screen during that online proctored delivery.
Is there a limit to the size of the monitor I can use during testing? There is not a minimum requirement. It is recommended that you have a 19-inch monitor, keeping in mind that anything smaller than that is going to limit the visibility of the items on your screen. As far as maximum is concerned, that's certainly up to you, how large you want your monitor to be.
Will candidates be reimbursed by NCARB after having to purchase all of these requirements? So what NCARB is doing is we will be having a rebate program, knowing that candidates in particular are going to be required to have external webcams. When a candidate signs up for their first online proctored delivery, NCARB will send you a $50 rebate. It'll be sent via email, so it's going to be an electronic gift card with the intent that that $50 will help defray the cost of the external webcam. That is a one-time only deal. So if you sign up for a second online proctored exam, you will not be eligible for a second gift card. But we hope that that will assist candidates with being able to meet the requirements.
Do you have Prometrics requirements on NCARB's website? What is different? There is a link to Prometrics requirements on NCARB's website. NCARB does have specific requirements, not necessarily from the technical standpoint, but security requirements, and as far as requirements around your break times and the actual testing itself. That's primarily due to the structure of the exam as well as for security purposes.
Will Bluetooth keyboards, mice, and webcams be permitted for online testing? Sure, that would be fine. I guess the one caution is if, for instance, your wireless keyboard or mouse has batteries, just make sure that those batteries are new or fully charged so that nothing dies in the middle of your test. But otherwise, that Bluetooth connection will be fine.
What's the actual resolution required? That would be a 1920 by 1080 pixels. That's the requirement.
Any requirement of operating system, i.e. Apple versus PC? Great question. Either of those is fine. And we've mentioned before the Prometric publishes the ProProctor user guide. And inside that document is a section about specific kind of troubleshooting issues for PC. And then the second half of the document is about how to access the software if you were using a Mac. So definitely encourage you to check that document out, particularly if you're using a Mac. Make sure that you flip to the second half of that document, know that that's there and has some great step-by-step instructions for you.
If I have two screens, do I need to disconnect them? As Michelle mentioned, you do need to use one screen. If you're using a laptop and an external monitor, you do need to keep the laptop closed. One monitor is the requirement.
What are the specifications for having a mirror handy? And so this is a suggestion when you are doing your, for online proctoring, a mirror can be helpful if the proctor is not able to see an area, for instance, behind your monitor. Now we have mentioned having an external webcam. It's important to note that that webcam will need to have a long enough cord so that you can actually move the webcam around your space and provide that 360-degree view. There's no minimum specification for a mirror. It's just something that could be handy to have, just like a hand mirror. Presumably most of those issues would be resolved by having that webcam with that long enough cord. But if you are concerned, certainly having just a small hand mirror nearby can help the proctor if they need to see any areas in more detail.
Can you please elaborate on clean desk? The clean desk policy is a security requirement. You need to have your monitor and your laptop on your desk as well as your external webcam. The check-in person with ProProctor needs to be able to see your entire testing environment. So anything that would be on your desk would have to be necessary to testing and would also need to be examined by the ProProctor check-in person.
How can I test the speed of my internet connection? So that there's a lot of free tools online. I can't recommend one in particular, but you can certainly just Google internet speed test. And you might also be able to contact your internet service provider if you need more information about what you have and confirming that that's what you actually have in your home.
If I'm using a larger monitor with a closed laptop screen, does that monitor need to have a webcam? Well, the webcam needs to be external, so it would not be part of the monitor itself. It would be attached externally with its own cord.
What's considered a private area to take the exam? So as we had mentioned before, the private area is a room with a door. If there are windows, there's actually windows behind me right now. I just have curtains closing them to just really make this into a private space. That door would want to be closed. If there are windows, you don't have curtains, you can certainly use like a sheet or paper to just cover up that space. The real intent there is making sure that no one from the outside can be looking in, potentially providing information that would give you an unfair advantage, say through a window. And you'll want to make sure that no one is entering your testing area during the exam. That's really the other part of the private area. You want to set up that space, but then you also want to keep it as a private space during the extent of your testing time.
Will it be possible to use a virtual background? No, you won't be able to have a virtual background because the proctor needs to be able to see everything that's going on behind you. So they need to have a full view of the room that you're testing in.
How can you make sure that someone is not using a dual monitor? So actually the software is designed to make sure of that. We've done extensive testing as NCARB staff and obviously working closely with Prometric, and we can confirm that the software does detect if dual monitors are being used.
Is the secure browser from Prometric something we have to download? And if so, when will it be available to test and make sure it works? Or you can do the secure systems check in advance of the exam. When you download the secure browser prior to your exam, you'd be able to check it and make sure that it works.
Can I test in a room with a glass door? So as I mentioned, the glass door is fine. The important part is it's a door and it shuts. If it is glass, you'll just want to have something on hand to cover that up with. Prometric recommends it can be handy to just keep a sheet nearby, like a bed sheet, or I don't know if you have a big tablecloth, just something nearby in case the proctor does spot some issues. You're able to cover things up pretty easily. But as a candidate, if you want to just go ahead and proactively cover up glass doors, or if there's maybe if you're testing in, say, the conference room in your office and there's an internal window there, you'd want to put paper over that window. Just do those sorts of things ahead of time to really speed up your security check-in process.
Is there a pre-exam appointment to confirm that your at-home space meets all of the requirements? If not, what happens on the day of the test if your testing environment is not accepted as a secure testing environment? There is a systems check, as I mentioned, that you can do prior to, what you absolutely should do prior to taking your exam to make sure that your space and your equipment meet all the technical requirements. And if you don't meet those requirements on the day of the test, you won't be able to test. So make sure that you check ProProctor website in order to access that systems check. And again, that's available on our website as well. There is a link to the ProProctor environment where you'd be able to do the systems check.
Well, thank you all so much for watching this video. Hopefully we were able to answer your questions about setting up your online proctored space. Keep an eye out for our other videos covering other aspects of online proctoring. Thanks.